Unlimited Tomorrow is in the business of making a deep personal impact on an individual by providing assistive devices such as prosthetic limbs and exoskeletons. After meeting a small girl who was born with limb difference at a science fair that had a human-like claw that cost over $50,000, I knew I had to do something about this global problem. At Unlimited Tomorrow, we're using today's newest technologies such as 3D printing, 3D scanning, and AI to create a device that is affordable, accessible, and personalized to each individual. The greatest thing is that we can produce this amazing technology for a fraction of the cost and have the ability to scale this globally.
Well, I'm Steve Liesman from CNBC. I'm the senior economics reporter, and I have to my what would that be? I guess that's my right here. To my right of Easton LaChapelle from Unlimited Tomorrow and Ed Kennelly from Bauer Hockey. I'm going to start with Ed here. Ed, I have a question for you. You've taken your hockey company and transformed it into making PPE.
Correct.
So the obvious question here is, your mask will protect me from coronavirus. Will it also protect me from a hockey puck?
No, two completely different products.
It doesn't work. It doesn't. So I should not use it for a hockey puck.
Not recommended.
Okay. Well, tell me about this amazing transformation that you've made to making hockey equipment to making PPE. It sounds like such a different sort of thing. Tell me about when you decided to do it and how you did it.
Yeah, sure. So probably second week of March, when things really started to get bad, I had individual head of our RD&D for our lacrosse division walk into my office and said, I have a crazy idea. I said, what is it? He said, I think we can make medical shields. And I said, let's do it. He said, I need your permission to spend some money to develop some prototype jigs. I said, spend as much as you want. Came back about 48 hours later with an actual prototype. And we green lighted raw material procurement for about 10,000 units. And at that point, we were concerned that we were going to have a hard time communicating that we were doing this and getting the word out. About 10 days later, we had orders for over 2 million units.
Wow.
We had to kind of turn the spigot off for the time being, simply because the lead times to deliver these to healthcare professionals and frontline workers were getting a little too far out for our comfort zone.
So how many are you producing now?
We'll be producing close to 2.5 million units by the third week of May.
Is that a week, or that's a?
No, we're producing about 250,000 units per week in a couple of different, three different manufacturing facilities, two that we own, one in Canada, one in the United States and upstate New York, and a partner facility in Canada as well.
Wow. And have you been able to hold on to all of your workers in order to do this, or have you had to let some go?
Well, that was the ancillary benefit of it. We could keep people employed that otherwise furloughed. And it's a zero profit proposition for us at this point, Steve. It's been 100% pass through. We haven't profited at all on this. Whatever it cost us in raw materials and overhead and freight, we're just passing that on to the frontline workers.
What an incredible story. Easton, how about you? When did you start producing these PPE, this PPE equipment? I know that's a little redundant, but when did you start producing, and how much are you producing, and where is it being produced?
Yeah, well, I guess for some context, we are in the business of making, personalized prosthetic limbs using some of the, the most advanced technology out there. Right. So we always have the mentality of how can we do something, better for cheaper and ultimately make something very accessible and affordable. And so we carried that through this. So we were approached a little over a month ago from local hospitals. They knew us as, this kind of scrappy startup that has.
Let me interrupt, Easton. Where are you talking about specifically? Where were you approached?
Oh yeah, we're headquartered in Rhinebeck, New York. So in about an hour.
I know the area. Very nice. Lovely area.
Yeah, it's beautiful. It's fantastic. So we were contacted, and they knew us as the startup, and we have some of the best technology and equipment in the world in our facility. And it was something that literally within a couple hours we spun out a new prototype for a face shield. We have some of the best 3D printers in the world, and that's something that we assess. There's so much buzz right now around 3D printing these types of materials and equipment.
Wow.
And we found that it wasn't the best use of that application, right? It's something that there's just inherent costs that come with this and just time, and those are both not to our benefit. So how can we be creative? And that's where we spun up our laser cutters. and we're able to produce, a face shield very, very fast. So right now we have the capacity of doing about 15,000 a week in our facility. So we're kind of on the other spectrum of power.
Do you have one of those face shields around now?
I don't know.
Oh, you don't? I'd like to see what it looks like.
Yeah, I actually saw the one that Bauer made, and it's very similar to this. And it's kind of, we're in the mentality of how can we keep this very, very simple. It doesn't have to last years. We do want to make it reusable and just kind of use existing infrastructure out there. We don't want to have to retool and create tools. If anything, for us being a small startup, we're kind of the temporary solution, right? We're like the Band-Aid fix.
Right.
We're the bridge to then get into maybe the Bauer or some of these other big companies that have amazing infrastructure to be able to spin up. We're that we can make it very fast while the other bigger guys can get everything together to be able to make the quantity that we need.
Ed, I want to turn to you from a slightly different standpoint here, because I want to hit myself on the head here a little bit, and I'll tell you why. Because this idea that President Trump, I think, wants nothing more than for business to get back to work. The essential nature of needing PPE to work is the critical thing. You can't work without the PPE. So tell me the protections that you're providing your workers and how massive production of PPE, and I'm gesticulating for emphasis here, is the essential ingredient needed if the president wants America to get back to work.
100%. And I think that's the biggest concern that we saw with the way that the government was handling this, honestly. Having states compete against each other for PPE instead of having a centralized directive on this is what we need from a country perspective. One of the things we did, Steve, I'll answer your question directly, but we took the development specs, the bill of materials and everything, and we put it on our website, and we encouraged other companies to come and pull down the PDF and make their own, because the only way that this is going to work is for companies to mobilize themselves, simply because the government wasn't doing it. The steps that we've taken, you're 100% right. If we can do our part and help, flatten the curve, if you will, we can hire back the people we have furloughed in other parts of the country that much quicker. We did all the right things from a manufacturing perspective in both of our own facilities. Frankly, it was a little bit of a limiting factor on the number of units we could get out the door.
Right.
Because we had to put extra distance between workstations and take the appropriate steps to make sure that we were being responsible.
Easton, same question to you. Tell me about how you protect your workers while they do this work of getting worker protection out the door.
Yeah, for us, it was really straightforward. I mean, we are a medical device company, so it was something that we just had to flip the switch, get the right equipment and, just precautions in place. Luckily the CDC came out with these the guidelines very fast. So we were able to, start cranking up our facility, find, the vendors and suppliers. And that's, I think that's I would love to hear what Bauer is doing, because that's an extreme quantity. And, even these raw materials, that's, it's just kind of a domino effect. It's a ripple effect. So that's definitely something that we're facing here and there, just, ordering, miles of Mylar sheet or, whatever it might be. But yeah, for us, it was very simple.
So tell me what happens to a worker when it comes in. Are they given a protective mask? Are they given gloves? To talk about the process of a worker coming to work and how they're protected.
Yeah, 6 feet, respirator, and we have these, kind of as a standard, working area where we use a lot of, chemicals in our process. So we have some fantastic respirators on site already. Gloves. We did have to start moving our assembly stations further away, just so it was a safe working environment. We had to, respin this whole new assembly line. So figuring out, batching and also the other big side is disinfecting. And that was something we actually started working with some local companies, and they were able to donate, disinfecting, chemicals and materials for us. And again, this is, I think, a kind of a forcing function to collaborate. And you see some amazing things. I think these are two, for Unlimited Tomorrow and Bauer, like two very different examples, two different very spectrums. But I'm sure it's, it's not only Bauer, it's not only Unlimited Tomorrow behind what we're doing. There's a collective approach here, and that's, I think pretty amazing.
And I want to throw you a softball here, because a lot of wonderful things appropriately have been said about the frontline healthcare workers. But take a minute to talk about the guys who are the truckers, the guys delivering the stuff, because without that stuff, the whole economy shuts down. In my opinion, as a guy who used to drive a truck during college to make ends meet, in a variety of places, those guys are heroes too.
Well, 100%. I think, Steve, frankly, there's people that get it and there's people that don't get it. We've had a couple of different companies come to us and actually offered free transportation to get our goods to hospitals on both sides of the border in North America. We've had companies come and provide free lunches for the folks working in our factories. So again, it is a bit binary. The folks that have a vision, that have an appreciation for servant leadership, they're stepping up and helping the cause in any way they can.
Okay, Easton, I've got a question here I want to read from the questions that have been submitted. I don't know the answer to this. I'm not sure you do either, but I'm going to read this to you. It says, the president has established a supply chain task force. One of the initiatives is around procurement of PPE. However, FEMA has stated there's no ability to identify and redeploy items that already exist. How do we fix this? Tell me about your experience in getting your product out the door to the places where it belongs. And you're smiling and smirking like you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, that was our pain point. Up to date, we've only produced a couple thousand face shields. We have an extreme capacity. I guess in my definition, 15,000. About a week. We can't really compare with the Bowers of the world, but for locally, that actually can make a huge impact. That was something we had hospitals, we had the county, we had the state knocking on our door. With all within a couple of days. So we have. There's obviously demand, and we have the solution. That's something I've kind of encountered is the middleman here. The actual planning of distribution has, from my experience, pretty much failed. And I think that's kind of there's just a lot of challenge. And I think when you look at Defense Production Act. We need to be very strategic about who we approach first, whether it is these small, nimble companies that can, act as the Band-Aid, which is what we are. That's how I perceive this, who we are in this situation. That buys us time to now get everything in place. But I don't think it also has to be like hard goods. I think there could be some incredible softwares that could be created to track where ventilators are, the life of them, where they are in the life cycle, distribute them, have automated software to go beyond that. So I think it's just, kind of taking a step back, looking at what's the problem. It's not always just move something from A to B. It's how can we move it from A to B more efficiently and create that system, because it's a big bottleneck right now.
Ed, you're shaking your head like you sort of have the same experience. Is it easy for you to find the outlet for the goods that you're producing?
It is, and most of them have been inbound requests. We've dealt with Governor Cuomo's office in New York, by way of an example, and we've dealt with provincial governments in Canada as well. The challenge, frankly, is separating the good guys from the bad guys, because there's a bunch of people out there that are trying to, present themselves as a solution and have a high commercial strategy on the back end to resell these at a high margin, and it's refuse to do business with those folks, and it's not going to work.
All right, I just want to read a response. Somebody says, thank you just for reading my question. We're working with several states now and have software solutions. And if you haven't seen it, this says eams.network, www.eams. I can't vouch or verify this, but I'm guessing this is a person that you may want to check out, because we have two terrific businessmen here who are trying to do the right thing. And this is a place, I've been covering disasters and economic crashes my entire career, unfortunately. And this is a time when business and government need to come together for the benefit of everybody. And you two guys are doing that. Easton, tell me about the road ahead. We have just a couple minutes here. And so just take a minute here and tell me what you're going to be doing next.
Yeah, well, we're standing by for orders. We're more than happy. This is something that doesn't seem like it's even a decision for us. If someone needs, a solution that we have, we're going to make that happen. And luckily we have some tremendous partnerships through our kind of for-profit entity, and amazing relationships. We're actually planning on launching our product, our below elbow prosthetic device that's going to really change up this medical industry. It's direct to consumer. It's telemedicine. It's new digital workflow. So I think timing it's really tricky being a startup launching a product like this. But given who we are and who we are targeting here, it can go well beyond what we're talking about here. So it's a really exciting time considering everything.
Ed, I'm going to ask you just a slightly different question, which is, you have to be thinking about getting back to normal. In your head, when are you going to be producing hockey equipment again?
Great question. So we haven't stopped producing equipment. We manufacture some goods in North America, primarily manufacture the bulk of it offshore. Our high season is actually July through October.
Okay.
So, we're confident, the power of sports will prevail at some point here when it's safe. So we're getting prepared for that, but it doesn't mean that we're going to stop producing PPE. And we're looking at some different business options to try to continue that effort on a go-forward basis right now.
Are you able to find, I know Easton was talking about this also, the raw materials you need to produce what you need? Is there some help that you could and should be getting from the government in terms of procurement to make the product?
We would love that, 100%. As you might well imagine, certain materials have become more challenging to procure. One of the things that we're most proud of is our R&D capabilities and research, design, and development. And that's why we were able to turn the prototype and the tooling as quickly as we are. So we're looking at some other line extensions, if you will, that we believe will have benefits to not only frontline health workers, but athletes. Supply chain, the good news is we have a robust supply chain. We source globally. The bad news is some of the key products to produce the shields that we're producing are drying up at this stage. We could use all the help we could get.
Gentlemen, thank you very much for your work and your efforts on this, and for sharing that in this, I don't know what you call it, video conference here. It was a pleasure to meet you guys, and I'm looking forward to staying abreast of what you guys are doing, and the best of luck to you. And I'm going to turn it over to, it looks like, Kiki right now.
Thank you, everybody.